14. Thank you very much, Craig. Welcome, Council Cabinet and officers, to the Cabinet meeting of Wednesday, the 14th of May 2025. We only have 2 items on the agenda this afternoon, so we'll give them as much justice as we can. First of all, Craig, do I have any apologies, please?
Just apologies from Councillor Dinser and Councillor Shiraz Khan.
Thank you very much, and we'll take the opportunity to wish Councillor Khan a swift recovery for a small operation. Do we have any late items, please?
No late items.
Okay. And item 3 is receipt of petitions.
None received.
Thank you. Item 4, identification of urgent items to which call-in will not apply.
None.
And item 5, any declarations of interest? Thank you very much. Then item 6 is the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 9th of April. Do I have a proposer for the accuracy of the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Hazelgrave. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Martin. Where's my head at? Beg your pardon, Councillor Martin. Thank you very much. Okay, item 7, recommendations from Executive Scrutiny Board. Do we have any, please?
There were no recommendations from Exec Scrutiny, and they just welcomed both reports.
Okay, thank you, that's noted. In that case, then we move on to the key decision, which is item 8. And that is send an alternative provision, sufficiency and capital programme. I'll pass over to the report sponsor, Councillor Hazelgrave.
Chair, fellow Cabinet members, this item is well summarised by its title. We are, by resolving to accept it, providing the capital to provide further building works and improvements to existing structures in order to meet the requirements to provide sufficient places of a suitable standard for our SEND pupils. Section 5.2 draws attention to pupil and parent involvement in drawing up all the plans as set out in 4.4 to 4.8. To summarise the nature of the schemes, 4 new schemes will be added to the 25-26 schools capital programme to a total cost of £1.806 million. This will support delivery of additional specialist places at St Andrew's Special School, £1 million, upgrade the fabric of Kingsmead Special School at the Wisgreaves and Southgate site, £0.556 million, improve the play spaces and environment for children aged 2 to 5 attending the YMCA Stepping Stones Nursery in Derwent, £0.1 million, and support the development of a new entrance to Castle Nursery at £150,000, enabling a safer access to the site and improved accessibility for children with additional needs. At 4.4, details are given about proposed works at Kingsmead, which is in a poor state of decoration and repair. Like many buildings in the public realm, 14 years of austerity have left their mark, but in this case, it is not indelible. Our SEND children, quite unjustifiably, often have a low feeling of self-worth and a less than ideal self-image. This can only be compounded by being taught in such dilapidated buildings, so these repairs will serve to counter that. It will also lead to a more inclusive intake. I will draw particular attention to 4.8 regarding the site at Whittaker Road, which is to be expanded to accommodate a greater number of SEND students at 6th form level. It is pleasing that we are having more numbers of SEND students continue into 6th form education. Greater numbers in a school lead to more staff and therefore a broadening of the range of courses the school can offer. This, along with clear pathways to employment, apprenticeships and further education as appropriate, is the best preparation we can provide to give our SEND students the best chance to make their way in the world with greater confidence and certainty of success. 10.1 and 10.2 spells out in detail the positive effects of these works on outcomes at all ages for our SEND students and pupils, and our schools only get one chance to make a first impression on visiting parents and carers and their potential students, so improvements will counter any negative impressions on first sight. We should also note that some of the children and young people will be from deprived backgrounds where education is an important way out of it. I fully support this item.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hazelgrave. Cabinet members, do you have any comments on this item? I know that some of these schools are in our own wards. They're really, really welcome changes. Yes, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to endorse Councillor Hazelgrave's presentation of how positive these changes will be for schools across the city. But if I may, I would just like to say I do welcome the extra funding for some improvements at Central Nursery, which is obviously in Darley Ward. I won't elaborate on how important Central is to me personally, but I know it's been there for over 100 years. It's served many, many children in the city. It's a really valued local resource, and it is a little tired in certain areas, and we do want to continue to increase the number of children attending Central Nursery in line with the way that because it is aligned in a federation with Ashgate Nursery, which of course where we very successfully took the decision not to close Ashgate, keep that open, to make it work. And so this work at Central, I understand, is very much part of that overall federation support and action, and therefore I welcome it and I hope it has the desired effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. It's an important point, isn't it? That actually focusing the school capitals programme on the specialist places is enhancing the work that we've been doing for the last 2 years as well, on bringing more placements into the city centre so that children are studying closer to their homes. And you know, it's so important that we focus on our children with additional needs and make them feel as important as everybody else. So thank you, it's very, very welcome. I'll go to Councillor Kerr and ask, are you here in your capacity as a Liberal Democrat member or the Executive Scrutiny Board, or both, please, Councillor Kerr?
I'm here because I've recently become the leader of the Liberal Democrat group, and it's one of the things that leaders of opposition groups do. So I am in that role. I was at Executive Scrutiny as well 2 days ago. And my comment at Executive Scrutiny, if I may, Chair, is that I am receiving increasing numbers of parents, usually parents, sometimes carers, getting in touch with me about the placements, particularly for secondary aged children with special needs. And we have to hope that these sorts of actions are going to make a difference. The speed with which they're being delivered compared to the report that came to Cabinet last August, I find a little disappointing. We've obviously got to make sure that we're doing the right things, but the urgency that was spoken about at that time doesn't seem to have been reflected in the progress that's being made. But hopefully that will change and we'll move forward, and by this time next year it'll be a different sort of landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr, and congratulations on your promotion. Can I just go over to Paula, just to ask if we could have some clarity on the timelines that Councillor Kerr was referring to?
So within these timelines, the actual fact why these have been and delayed somewhat is to do with actually the add-in of further capital funding to this allocation capital programme, because the feasibilities that we've had have been a little delayed. Any further comments, if you can put to Director Sharon Buckby? But those are the main reasons.
Well, I mean, delay is not ideal, but if it's a delay because we've got more money, then it's one that we can accept, isn't it? So with that, then, I will go to recommendations, which is 2.1 to 2.6. Are we all agreed? Okay, thank you very much, Cabinet. Then contract and financial procedure matters. Item 9, the acceptance of funding from the DFE of 1.338 million for a further financial year to continue to deliver the Family Hub project and associated delegated approvals. I believe We're going over to Councillor Kozlowski for this.
Thank you, Chair. So, as you say, the recommendations are that Cabinet approve the acceptance of this funding and also that Cabinet approve the transfer of any underspend of this funding at the end of the extension period to an earmarked reserve to fund any possible clawback of unspent funds or reprioritise as appropriate as outlined in section 4.1 of the report. The final recommendation is that Cabinet delegate authority to the Strategic Director of People Service in consultation with Section 151 Officer and the Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Skills to apply the £1.388 million funding in accordance with the terms and conditions of that funding. And I just wanted to say a thing or two about the family hubs, that they are much needed and valued. It's a great initiative. The Family Hub is for families with babies, children and young people from birth until the age of 19 or up to 25 for young people with special educational needs and disabilities. It brings together a wide range of inclusive and targeted groups. The hubs help our citizens to access a range of support, including physical and mental health, housing and debt advice, youth services, domestic abuse support, parenting classes, midwifery, health visiting, infant feeding advice and perinatal mental health support. There are 10 hubs across the city, but it's not all just a single building. Instead, it's a network of different physical locations in the city, as well as online services. The programme's core objective is to improve family service delivery, including Start for Life services, in areas with the highest levels of deprivation and disproportionately poor health and educational outcomes. The funding will be spent on continuation of the services that have offered the most to families in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kozlowski. Very, very welcome funding indeed. We know what a lifeline these family hubs are in our communities because we've all seen our communities suffer when we lost children's centres for all those years. So while it's fantastic that we're able to continue to support them, and we welcome more of them because there's always more demand than we can support. Are there any comments? Yes, please, Councillor Hazelgrave.
I just can't speak too highly of the effect that the teams involved at the Family Hub have on the upbringing of infants, newborn infants, and older children in terms of improving their prospects in later life. Many conditions are diagnosed or suspected at an early age when they're presented at the family hubs, and intervention from a range of services are targeted to support that the development of that child. Some children present who are slow to develop in terms of emotional development or speech and language. And intervention there is absolutely crucial because in terms of emotional development, after the age of 2, it takes a heck of a lot of work to actually develop that child. They say 2 is too late in terms of that particular emotional development. Speech and language issues that are not picked up earlier end up as being diagnosed as SEND later on. They're not SEND, they're something that just needs to be remedied at that time. So this gives children a really good start. It has really good support, and it's in the communities that most need it, but it's open to everyone. Yeah, so I can't speak, as I say, too highly of the tremendous work that they work in, as teams in those family hubs, and also attract, through word of mouth from parent to parent, engagement with that facility. So I do really welcome the continued funding from the Labour government for this. Thank you.
Marvellous. Thank you, Councillor Hazelgrave. And we'll send our thanks to the dedication of our officers that run those family hubs as well. Councillor Kerr, do you have a question?
I have a comment, actually, Chair. The funding is obviously coming in now, and it is definitely welcomed, but it would have been probably more helpful to have known that it was coming, so that there wasn't a potential cliff edge and a bit of a cavern between last year's funding and taking it forward. Now, I understand that that is being managed because there was hints that this funding was going to be coming. But in terms of continuity, it would be lovely if the government could say, yes, it will be coming, this is the amount it's going to be, and for that announcement to have been back in November or December or whenever the rest of the money was announced. But we still don't know what's going to happen next year. And therefore, if there isn't a cliff edge that's in just under 12 months' time, then I think the relationship with the voluntary sector is going to be really important for the continuation of these sorts of services and the knowledge within the community which the interactions are building. So I'm hoping that that is something that will continue to be worked on and continue to be a priority. But there's also another issue which particularly relates to what Councillor Hesegrave has mentioned, which is identifying the initial problems that some young children are having. And that is often not done in a hub because only a minority of children will be presented at a hub, but may come through presentation as part of a free nursery place at another nursery.
Councillor Kerr, can I ask you, is this relating to the paper?
It is indeed, yes.
Could you get to the point then, please?
I'm about to. Because that element, and in terms of being able to provide that support when presented as part of a free place at a nursery, is not currently funded. Particularly if you're a private nursery, you're going to get no extra funding for that child until they get any HCP. And it's really unusual for a young child to get any HCP at nursery age. So is any of this funding going to be able to go to support those children with additional needs who are in a nursery setting and not in a hub setting?
Oh, so there was a question there somewhere, Councillor Kerr. Okay, if you wouldn't mind in future, and as it's your first meeting, I will allow it, but if you wouldn't mind keeping your comments a little shorter, that would be appreciated. Thank you. And we stick to questions from opposition leaders. Thank you. Councillor Hesegrave, I believe you wish to come to respond to that question. Thank you.
I'd be frankly amazed if a nursery has concerns about any particular developmental aspect of a child who presents at their nursery, and they don't have channels through which they can communicate that so that support is there. Because support exists, yeah? So it's a question of whether that nursery picks up the phone, reports that, and gets the support from outside agencies. And there usually will be things to do with the council, but it could be the voluntary sector that provides it through grants. I would urge any nursery school to bring to the attention of the council any concerns they have about any very young child who presents there and they have concerns, because early intervention is the key, and it shouldn't be something that's dependent on the income of that particular nursery to provide those resources.
Thank you, Councillor Hesegrave. Councillor Chambers.
Yeah, can I just make 3 points? So in terms of, we've only got the funding for a year. We don't know if we're going to have a cliff edge next year. Officers work really hard in the background because we never know whether we're going to get that funding, just like we never know whether we're going to get the next lot of household support funding. So we've always got a plan B and even a plan C at points for if that cliff edge comes nearer than it does on a regular basis. Secondly, in terms of getting there in early intervention, that's something that I'd like to work on in terms of what we do when someone is born in a hospital, because I think that's the first time where we can actually introduce them to a family hub and get them involved in them services from the get-go, and it is something I'm working on. And thirdly, in terms of the family hubs, these are going to be the epicentre of us targeting child poverty and doing similar events like we did in the pensioner advice events, which are going really well and have gone really well. So they're going to be a vital part of that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor Martin.
Just to add to what Councillor Chambers has said, and hopefully to reassure Councillor Kerr somewhat, though I'm not professing to be the Cabinet member who's most involved in this work, but so some of this work, as I understand it, is quite pioneering and having really quite significant effects within the family hubs, obviously. But we had a presentation of this to the Integrated Care Partnership as part of the overall Integrated Care Strategy Stay Well key area of focus. And the point I'm raising that is, why I'm raising that is because, you know, in those meetings are all the voluntary sector, the NHS and council partners in Derby and Derbyshire. So they're all part of this integrated care strategy plan, and they're all involved in that. They all heard that presentation, and so the expectation is they will all be contributing in the ways they can, whether it's at the hospital sites or wherever, to contribute to this work and to develop it, and if funding allows, etc., to expand it. So just to say that it's, as far as from my perspective, as the co-chair of the ICP, it doesn't seem to be a piece of work that is sort of just happening in a family hub as it is, but I mean it's getting a lot more resonance, and the idea is that it would be other people will, I understand the new phrase is lean into it. I'm not one for buzzwords, but you know, and take it forward. So I think the ambition you share is what you want is very much an ambition shared by the entire system. Thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet. Okay, so my comment on this is that we have had a Labour government for less than a year, and it was made very clear that we would have a continuation of funding this year, and then there would be a spending review, and we are to expect multi-year funding going forward. So therefore, the idea of a cliff edge is not something that we anticipate happening in the future in many aspects of our finances at the council, because we will be able to prepare in advance, we will be able to budget accordingly, and we will be able to allocate that funding where we see it's most important. And we all know how important the family hubs are. And in answer to the direct question that finally came, this funding is absolutely, utterly for family hubs projects, so it's not going anywhere else. So with that, I will go to the recommendations, which, if I can find them. Oh, recommendations 2.1 to 2.3. Are we all agreed, Cabinet? We're leaning in. Oh, we're down with the kids. Oh, God, I can't believe I just said that. Right, thank you very much, Cabinet. If that is everything, that draws the meeting to an end. Thank you.